And we are live. Welcome, everyone, joining us for this episode of From the President's Desk. We are joined by a special guest today. Uh, our stewardship coordinator, Joe Gennaro, is with us here.
How we doing?
Um, so I'm going to basically step back for today, and Father Dave and Joe will talk for most of the episode. Um, but how about we get started? For those who don't know Joe, they may have seen him on the live stream of our past galas, but if they don't know you, Joe, can you give yourself a quick introduction, who you are, what you do?
What I do? Well, I'm the stewardship officer, and I help out with all the major gifts to Catholic missions in Canada, and just that little bit there tells you that there's a lot to be done in my role.
Maybe we should further clarify in terms of gifts, a special category of gifts that we call planned gifts. Maybe you could explain that.
Plan giving, sure. Well, plan giving is just that. It's plan giving. It's donors who wish to make a gift that they planned for, either by accumulating over the years or perhaps including Catholic missions in Canada as a beneficiary in a will after their demise. So we have other instruments other than just estate planning, which includes life insurance policies and other items like that, which don't come to fruition for quite a while, but thus the name planned giving as opposed to instant giving, I guess.
So, yeah, the emphasis, as you said, not coming immediately, but sometime in the
In the
future,
future, yes.
rather than, like you said, direct
Hmm.
giving. So, what are we talking about today, Adam?
Well, how about we start with your travels together?
Which ones?
Which ones?
You've been to, well, where have you been
Well,
in the last year?
most recently we did an experiment of going to the city of Edmonton to meet with some of our plan givers.
Yeah, major donors.
And it was a stewarding event, and that's why I took Joe with me. It was kind of a mini version of another event which we put on usually in May on the feast of St. Philip Neri, who is Catholic Missions in Canada's primary patron. And we put here in Toronto, we put on a lunch, a mass and luncheon. And people in Edmonton can't get to that. So we called up some of our donors and invited them to come and did kind of a mini version of that. There was a presentation by Joe and myself, a video that Adam shot of me interviewing people in Goose Bay, Happy Valley, Newfoundland, and talking about the state of affairs in missions across Canada and what's happening with our organization. That was the most recent travel.
Yes, it was, and because it was the initial trip, um, it was a little bit of an experiment in traveling, and one of the reasons why we wanted to try going to other major Canadian cities is that we need Catholic Missions in Canada needs to get the word out as to what they do, what we do. And surprisingly, to a lot of people, we are only a staff of 7.5 employees here at Catholic Missions. Actually, that half is a volunteer. So it's quite the challenge in getting our message from, as Father likes to say, from sea to shining sea. So we thought we'd go out to Edmonton, see some people that we haven't seen in a long time, and see some major donors that we've never met face to face, and kind of enlisted their help as well. Not necessarily looking for donations directly from them, but asking them to help us get the message across that an organization, a Catholic organization like ours, does exist, and it serves literally every square inch of this big country of ours. And I think it worked out really well.
I think it was a success. An emphasis on asking them to be our ambassadors or missionaries to get the word out about our organization, because we really struggle with that. Even though we're doing so much in terms of our awareness campaign, preaching and presenting, getting the magazine out, advertising in Catholic papers, having a major event, although that's really limited to the Greater Toronto area. Since 1908, and we're still not known well across the country, except for our donors. So we chose Edmonton because it's a little bit special in the sense that there is a Roman Catholic archdiocese there. There is also a Ukrainian Catholic eparchy based there. And we met in the hall of the Ukrainian Catholic Cathedral.
St. Jehoshaphat.
And we had about, was it 20 people,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. And we are planning to do this in other major Canadian cities also. We're constantly trying to come up with new ways to get the word out, because the pandemic really set us back, as it set everybody back. And we have to try to keep ourselves in front of mind in Catholics, because although we do many other things and fundraise, but that's really the most of what we do is fundraising in order to be able to disperse allotments totaling almost $5 million a year.
But when you do your visiting, you are connecting the supporters with the missions, in the sense that you both now have experience visiting missions and know what it's like. Do you want to share some of that experience together? So
Yeah, I don't know that connecting, because the donors are already connected. What we need to do,
they're reading the magazine, but
well, because
they might
they've
not.
already given, they've already supported. What we want to do is to make new connections, so people who have never donated to us, to get new donations or new gift planners.
Right. And one thing that people don't seem to know is that although we're working out of our offices here in Toronto, the responsibility of making sure, or trying to make sure, that the Lord's message continues to be spread across this fair land, is that the whole country is really responsible for that, or should be helpful in that, or should be involved in somehow spreading the news of Catholic missions in Canada and making sure that as many people as possible continue to benefit from our services.
Yeah, maybe a point of clarification is that there are mission areas within the country of Canada, in contrast to foreign missions, which also need support. But a lot of people don't realize that there are also places within the boundaries of Canada that need financial help too, and that's what Catholic Missions in Canada is charged with. So it's Canadian money remaining within Canada to help Canadians.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So, Joe, what was it that inspired you to work for the missions? Or what was your understanding of missions before joining and now after working here for a while?
I was fortunate because there were two generations of my family that have worked with Catholic missions in the past, and it was quite by chance that Father and I came across each other, and I just happened to be a point in my career where this was an opportunity, and the allure of traveling across Canada, meeting different people, and helping spread our faith, or making sure that our faith gets to all corners of this country of ours, was really the big reason why I wanted to be with Catholic missions in Canada.
Where have you been together specifically? What missions have you been to?
Together, actually, the Yukon. We visited. We spent some time out there, and Father took me on a neat introductory trip to the Yukon in northern British Columbia, which was fascinating. Um, Caught me a little bit by surprise. Some of these places, you know, I keep saying, being a Toronto boy, born and bred, the isolation that some of these neighborhoods experience is fascinating to me, because I've always been surrounded by people and churches and priests and population and so on. But getting out again to the Yukon and the northern British Columbia, I was surprised at how far apart our population exists in this country. So, other than that, haven't had the opportunity to go very too far and wide with Father.
We do
And
more
visit.
visitation of donors
Sure.
for that. That's the majority of our traveling together. But Adam, you've been with me to Happy Valley Goose Bay. Why don't you reflect your experience?
That was interesting because I never pictured the East Coast as mission territory for some reason. Like stereotypically, I've always thought like northern Canada. Um, and the other thing was it was a parish where we were. It was built up around the military base, so that was also a unique thing. And I realized that a lot of missions or people who work on missions or know about the missions have worked for the military or done work in the military because of the infrastructure around the country. So that was interesting. Um, like to contrast that with my experience in high school going to Little Grand Rapids in Archdiocese of St. Boniface, which was very that was a flying community. Well, I guess Goose Bay is flying as well, right? Yeah, yeah. But it was a different type of community, yeah. It's good. And it was also an actual, it was actually a very active mission. Like they were trying to do a lot, um, getting the parishioners together for children's liturgy, sacramental preparation. Like they were pretty busy parish, which was good to see.
There was a contrast there. I'm trying to remember. Did you go to Sheshashi with me? You
Yes,
did.
yep,
Okay,
yep,
so
yep.
about 45-minute drive out of Happy Valley.
That was when we picked up Hitchhiker.
Yeah, we don't talk about that on air. Maybe I don't remember. Okay. So Happy Valley is would be more of a non-indigenous, so there are some indigenous there, whereas Sheshashi is an Innu community on a reserve. So two very different experiences. Uh, I think.
But the church on the Innu community was newer,
Oh, it was brand new. It was brand new.
which was also surprising.
In Happy Valley, I found that the parishioners really took ownership of their church church building. It's a small community, so everybody knows each other, and we had replaced the roof there. So two different coast to coast. I mean, two different experiences, really three, because we'll throw in Sheshashi. Whereas in the Diocese of Whitehorse, it's really all indigenous communities, other than for, well, let's see, Whitehorse.
Watson Lake.
Yeah, Watson Lake. We could also throw in there Carcross. But most of the others are indigenous.
Yeah, to get so back to the East Coast, we actually have coming up our gala, which we'll talk about, but the Bishop of Diocese of Corner Brook and Labrador is the guest speaker for that. So Bishop Bart Van Royen will be coming. Why don't we talk about that? So what's involved in the gala, Joe? What's all part of the gala?
Well, our taste of having gala has now been in existence. I believe this is our 23rd year, and we're having a function on May the 9th at the Bellevue Manor Event Center, just north of Toronto, and again, our purpose is certainly to raise funds for the missions, but it also is to raise awareness about our organization. So we're in the throes of planning it right now, which are quite the challenge. But it promises to be a successful event, and not only do we have Bishop Bart as our guest speaker, we also honor one of our missionaries, and this year the missionary we'll honor is Father Francois Paradis from an OMI from Winnipeg, and we're happy that he'll be joining us for the event. So we do a little bit of business. We have a lot of fun, and the taste of heaven, as the name suggests, we all eat well.
And the theme is Mardi Gras this year.
Yeah, last year's theme was big band music, and the band was so loud that it almost blew everybody out of the hall. This year we've toned it down. We've got a Dixieland jazz band, the downtown Dixieland jazz band that will be performing for us, and it's a New Orleans style Mardi Gras themed evening.
And we have some silent auction items, which are in this room, which is why it looks a little messy, but we're going to be putting those together. What are some highlights?
We will have two hand painted, really, we should say written, Ukrainian icons sent to us by the Eparchy of New Westminster in BC. The fellow who wrote these went back to the Ukraine, so our prayers are with him.
Absolutely.
Any other big ticket items, Joe? Oh, yes.
Yeah, from Vancouver Island, we have these hand knitted sweaters, Cowichan community, and they are heavy. They are heavy and warm, that's for sure. So we've got a couple of these that'll be up for auction, as well as other items from the different dioceses across Canada, including moccasins and all handmade gloves and hats and so on. So we've been blessed with a lot of donations from the communities across Canada, and I think they'll be happy, or the attendees will be happy with the offering at the silent auction.
There's a lot of artwork, but also the big item,
Right.
which will be auctioned somehow. You want to talk about that?
Well, we have one item that we're going to have a live auction for, and that's a private box at the Blue Jays game sometime this summer, and people have an opportunity to bid on it, and this was gratefully donated by Executech, a local company here in Toronto, and we thank them for their gift.
So the focus this year, we've talked a lot about missionary travel costs in a lot of our promotions. So we've talked about the distances that missionaries travel to celebrate Mass or offer the sacraments. What are some examples of great distance? Because like with that goes the cost of everything, the vehicle, maintenance, fuel. So we've got about 600, just over, well, almost $700,000 of the disbursements is for missionary travel, requested by the diocese. So we're going to try to raise money towards that. But what are some specific examples of travel?
So the most expensive would be dioceses where there's flying. So if you look at the Northwest Territories, you can't drive from Yellowknife to Inuvik. You can drive from Yellowknife to Inuvik, but you have to go down into Alberta, across BC, up into the Yukon, and then take the Dempster Highway to Inuvik, which is a very, very long multi day drive. Or you could fly. I think I haven't done that route in a while. I think it's maybe 2 hours. I'll stand corrected on that. So where there's flying, and flying in the north is exceedingly expensive, there isn't the volume that there is in the south. The planes are small, but the cost is very, very high.
Yeah, so that's why it represents a large chunk of the grants that are requested from us.
I think that, you know, costs of fuel, uh, repair and maintenance of vehicles is so high. When I first came 7.5 years ago, missionary sustenance accounted for about 60% of the budget. Now it represents over 80% of the budget. So just keeping the missionary in the field seems to be becoming almost all of what we do now.
What's the longest time that you've driven, Joe?
Well, there's a story that goes with that. Father and I embarked on one trip to a mission, and we had driven about 5 hours, and we stopped in for lunch, only to into a restaurant gas station for lunch, only to realize after lunch that we had locked our keys in the truck, and so we attempted to call CAA, only again to realize that the soonest they could be there is 5 hours, because they have to come from where we just came from. Um,
We didn't actually call CAA.
well, we didn't.
We
No,
no, we didn't,
we were told.
because we suddenly realized that when we got out of the vehicle and closed the doors locked automatically, which we didn't know. And there wasn't, when you're in that area, there just isn't anything around, nothing. So, do you want to tell what happened?
Well, I could if we've got time.
How do you get how do you get into a car that's locked?
In the Yukon.
Well, we were just moments away from smashing in a back window when a young lady with apparent experience in getting into locked cars
And
helped us out.
we won't say where that experience came from.
And she helped us, and we got out, and we went to the missions for the next 2 days. We ventured to other missions, and on the way back, we thought we'd stop in and thank the people for all their help, and besides, we needed gas. And when we got there, we asked for a certain person so that we could say thank you to them. And the person that was tending the restaurant said, "Oh, you're the guys from Toronto that locked their keys in their truck that everybody's talking about." So apparently we made a lot of people's weekend that that.
If only we could get out
Typical.
word about CMIC
Yeah, good point.
to the same extent. That would be really good.
Okay, let's wrap that up. So everybody, if you're able to uh, donate in support of the gala, that would be greatly appreciated. If you're in the area, by all means, consider attending for some great music and dancing and silent auction
Can
items.
the gala be viewed online, Adam?
No, not this year, but we will be offering a virtual gala in the fall. That's the
Yeah,
plan.
we're planning a virtual wine tasting similar to what
Yeah.
we did for 2 years during COVID, for a date to be confirmed sometime in October of this year. So hopefully we'll have wine packages available for purchase, and along with some food items that are typically paired with the wine items, and we'll have that virtual gala again at the latter half of this year. In the
Great.
meantime, donations can be made online at www.cmic.info.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Great. Thanks, Joe, for joining us today.
Pleasure.
And we'll be keeping you all in our prayers, and we'll see you next month.
God bless all.
Thank you.